Yo, what's good boys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be showing the best updated competitive settings for Fortnite in chapter 3 season 2. The FNCS right around the corner, you'll be getting the competitive edge needed to give you the best performance during all of your games. If you like the sound of that, let's keep going, and before we start, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe because it does help me out a lot. Now with all that said, let's get started. Now before we start, make sure that you're on DX11 as we go over everything in the video settings tab, because even when you're on performance mode, all of the video settings that you change on DX11 and on DX12 will impact you while you're on performance mode. So do that first, then come back to the video, then we'll be switching over to performance mode later on in the video. Now for the window mode, you always want to be on full screen. You never want to be on window full screen or windowed, because doing that does give you more input delay, so it's better to stay on full screen. Now for the resolution, I have mine on native, but you can use a stretched res. When looking for the best stretch res or one that fits you the most, be sure to keep this important fact in mind, and the credit of this goes to SlideJack. Now compared to how it was back then, when using a stretch res it would give you more FOV, but now when you lower your X resolution, instead of it rendering more in the Y direction for more FOV, instead it lowers your FOV and stretches it to the exact length of your computer screen, which is a huge disadvantage. So that means that you're giving up seeing certain things on your screen just to get a stretch resolution. So instead, make sure that you always keep the same 16:9 aspect ratio, so that you always keep the same field of view. So instead of using 1680 by 1050, which has a 14:9 aspect ratio, use 1680 by 945. And instead of using 1750 by 1080, which has a 175:108 ratio, instead use 1744 by 981. And by doing this, you'll receive the benefit of lowering your resolution without losing any field of view of your gameplay. And if you have a pretty decent PC, then the best thing to do is to stay on native. However, if you have a low-end PC, then use any of these aspect ratios that are listed here on the screen. Now for the frame rate limit, I keep mine on unlimited. However, for competitive, you want to cap your frames according to your monitor hertz to avoid huge frame drops. Since I have a 240 hertz monitor, I'm going to cap this at 240. And if you have a 165 hertz monitor, then cap your Fortnite frames at 180. And if you have a 144 hertz monitor, then cap your frames at 160. And for the brightness, it's best to put it at 123% so that it's not too dark. At 123%, it kind of makes up for the colorblind not being there. Colorblind's are useless at the moment and they don't work on performance mode, so it's better to just keep this off. And now for view distance, I recommend keeping it on medium or low and nothing higher than that. And shadows, turn them off, because having them on not only lowers the FPS but makes it harder to spot enemies in certain parts of the map. But since we're using performance mode, we're not going to worry about that, so just keep it off. Anti-aliasing, you want that off. Textures, you want that on low. Effects, you also want that on low. And now for these download textures and high res textures, you want these off as well. And for post processing, you want that on low as well. Now going on to the advanced graphics, VSync, you want this off. Motion blur, you want that off as well. For show FPS, you want that on. Now for the rendering mode, we're currently on DX11, and that's so that we can see the certain settings that are not available on performance mode. And remember how I mentioned before that some of these settings do carry on over to performance mode, so that's why we're on this. And now for multi-threaded rendering, turn this on only if your PC has 4 or more cores in your CPU. And to check how many cores your CPU has, all you have to do is exit out of Fortnite, just tab out or minimize it. Then on your keyboard, click Control, Shift, and Escape, and the task manager should come up. Then from here, click on performance and CPU, then it should bring you to right here. And as you can see, I have 8 cores, so that means I can have multi-threaded rendering on. However, if you have 3 or less cores, it's better to keep multi-threaded rendering off. Now for GPU crash debugging, you want this off, because what it does is it sends a report to Epic developers whenever your game crashes, so just keep this off. Latency markers, you want this off. And now for NVIDIA Reflex low latency, you want this on plus boost. Now for on plus boost, I recommend everyone to have it on plus boost, because having it on that removes the cue from you pressing an input and it being recognized on your screen, so you get much less delay. So I'd highly recommend everyone to have it on plus boost. For latency flash, you want this off. For DLSS, you want that off as well. And that's pretty much it for all the video settings. Let's move on with the rest of the setting. Now before continuing on, make sure that you switch back to performance mode, and as you can see, the settings that were here in the video tab on DX11 are not here anymore. So for meshes, make sure that you're on low, because low mesh will always be better than high mesh. So after doing that, let's go on to the game settings. Now toggle sprint, make sure you have this on. If you don't have this on, you are putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. And on controller, if you want to bind the toggle sprint, go back into settings, go into the controller tab, go to the X where it says unbound, scroll all the way down until you find sprint/auto sprint. Now whenever you click on that, basically it gives you the sprinting option. The sprinting feature is also beneficial. You want to move from zone to zone in endgame and you don't want to waste too many mats. Now for keyboard, if you want to bind this as well, go to the keyboard, binds, tab, scroll all the way down until you find sprint. I have mine on U. I don't play keyboard, so this is not that important to me but you can have it on something, for example, a mouse button or something closer on the keyboard like tab, something that's easy to press on, but make sure you do have the sprint option on. And now for auto open doors, I recommend everyone to always have it on, because say you mess up on an edit, say you're trying to tarp away, say someone's on this wall, right, and you're trying to tarp away, instead of you doing this and tarping away like this, now say you tarp a door instead, having it on makes it so that even if you do edit a door, you can walk right through, because it can be most useful in most cases rather than having it off. So make sure to keep that on. So for mantle activation, make sure that you always have it on hold to jump. Some people say to put it on hold forward, but when you put it on hold forward, it messes up with your builds a lot. But when you put it on hold to jump, it will only mantle when you purposefully hold on your jump button. Now hold to swap pickup is also an important thing that you should have on. Basically, it makes it so that whenever you see loot on the floor, if you want to swap it with what you're currently holding, just hold on the pickup and it will drop whatever you had and pick up whatever you were holding on. Toggle targeting, you want that off. Mark danger when targeting, you want that on as well. Basically, if whenever you aim in on something and you mark, it will mark it as a danger. This is really good for team game modes to let teammates know when there's an enemy or when something important is going on. Auto pickup weapons, turn this off. You don't want this on. Prefer item slots, you definitely want this on, because it puts your weapons in the correct order that you want them in. For me personally, I like having the shotgun first, AR second, shield in the third slot, and then whatever white heals I have in the fourth one, and in my last one I have the SMG. You can set it to whichever specific order you want. Even when I drop this, no matter what order I pick it in, so if I pick up the SMG first, it'll automatically put it in the last slot. If I pick up the mini, it'll put it in that slot, and if I pick up the AR, it'll put it in the second slot, and as well as the shotgun. So it puts everything in the preferred slot that you set it to. Auto sort consumables to the right, have that on. Reset building choice, have that on as well. Like I said before, this is mostly a controller bind, so if you play on a controller, definitely have that option on. Now for the disable pre-edit option, if you're in solos, you don't really need to have it on, but in team game modes, when you have this off, you can go for plays. For example, say there's an enemy in this box and you're a duo or you're a trio, you or whoever has the pre-edits on can do an edit like this, and as your teammates are spraying a certain box, all you would have to do is hold, and it would replace it with what you already had pre-edited. And doing this most of the time does confuse the enemy, and with this as well, it throws them off guard almost 90% of the time. So this is really good for team game modes, but for solos it's not as useful compared to team game modes. Confirm edit on release, I have it on, but I honestly do believe that it's better to have it off so you confirm every single edit. However, you can still get the same type of movement with confirm edit on release on. You just have to get used to it, get used to ducking and moving to the side, controlling your movement whenever you go for plays like this, so that you're most protected whenever you go for certain edits, so that you're not exposing yourself too much. It's all possible, so you don't have to have confirm edit on release off to have the best movement. And now to the HUD scale, I turned it up from last time. Compared to last time, I was at around 70 to 75, but now I have it at 80. This just makes it so that you can see the map, you can see the zones without always having to open your map, and your inventory is at the right size, so it's not blocking any of the gameplay that you're looking at. For spectator count, have it off, because when you know you're being watched, especially when you're trying to clutch up in crazy situations, it's better to have it off so you can perform at your best, because some people perform worse when they know they're being watched. For reticle, of course, you want that on. Player health, you want that on. Resources on. Minimap on. Quickfire on. Target info on. Pickup loot stream, you can have this on. Map and backpack keys off. Elimination feed on. Latency debug stats, you want this off. Net debug stats, you want this on. Quest progress off. Reticle ammo indicator. If you don't know what this is, if you look at my reticle on the striker shotgun, as you can see, there's nothing, but when I do turn this on, now you can see there's kind of a counter on the right of the reticle of my striker shotgun. I find that this is not really worth it. It just makes the screen a clutter and gets in the way. Honestly, you could just look at the bottom right of your screen and see how much ammo you have. That will be off. Control pumps off, and creative runtime performance stats, you want that off as well. Now for the sound quality, always you want it on low, because putting it on high will decrease your game performance. 3D headphones, you want it off. Then again, having it on can be an advantage, because you get to hear stuff at much precise level. It will take some time to get used to if you're not used to 3D headphones. Trust me, it'll take about a week to get used to, but I honestly believe that 3D headphones is better. But if not, you could just keep it off. Background audio, you want that off. Subtitles, now for subtitles, make sure you put everything to this. Subtitles off. Text size extra small. Text color white. Text border, you want it on none. Background opacity, you want it on clear. Now for visual sound effects, have this on. No matter how cluttered your screen gets, trust me, the information that it gives, it's much more beneficial when you have it on than rather if you were to have it off. So just keep this on. That's the end of this video, guys. If you found this helpful, don't forget to sub and drop a like, because it helps me out a lot. As always, it's your boy Lqwid. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.